down, step back, fade into the background. But I'm here to tell you that's complete nonsense. That's a lie. A story society tells to keep you small, to keep you out of the way, to make room for younger people. But it's not true. And I can prove it. Let me tell you about some people. Real people. People who didn't accept that their time was over. People who decided that age was just a number and that they still had important things to do, create, accomplish, experience. Colonel Sanders was 62 when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken. 62. He'd failed at multiple businesses. He was broke. He was living on Social Security. Most people would have given up. Most people would have said, well, I tried. I'm too old now. Time to just accept that this is how it's going to be. But he didn't. He took his chicken recipe and he drove around the country, getting rejected over 1,000 times before someone finally said yes. And he built one of the most successful restaurant chains in the world. At 62. When most people are thinking about taking it easy. Laura Ingalls Wilder didn't publish her first book until she was 64. 64 years old. The Little House on the Prairie series that millions of people have read and loved, she started writing that in her 60s. Before that, she was a farmer's wife. She'd never been a professional writer, but she had stories to tell. And she decided it wasn't too late to tell them, and she was right. Frank McCourt published Angela's Ashes, his first book, at age 66. It won the Pulitzer Prize. He became one of the most celebrated authors of his generation. At 66, after spending decades as a teacher, thinking he'd never be a writer. Grandma Moses started painting seriously at age 76, 76 years old. She'd never had formal art training. She'd spent her life as a farmer's wife. But arthritis made it hard for her to do embroidery, so she picked up a paintbrush instead. And she became one of the most famous American folk artists. Her paintings hang in museums around the world. She was painting and exhibiting into her hundreds. Her life's work started at 76. I could go on. I could give you hundreds of examples, thousands of examples of people who did the most important, most impressive, most meaningful work of their lives after the age that society says you're supposed to be done. After the age when you're supposed to fade into the background. After the age when you're supposed to stop trying. Why am I telling you this? Because I need you to understand something. The story you've been told about aging, it's wrong. The idea that your best years are behind you, it's false. The belief that you're too old to start something new, to try something big, to make a real impact, it's a lie that's been fed to you your entire life, and I need you to reject it. I need you to see it for what it is. A way to keep you small, a way to keep you from competing, a way to make you step aside and stop being a force in the world. But you don't have to accept that story. You don't have to believe that lie. You can write a different story. You can prove them wrong. You can show the world that age doesn't determine what you're capable of. That experience and wisdom and decades of life aren't weaknesses. They're advantages. They're superpowers. Think about what you have now that you didn't have when you were younger. You have perspective. You've lived through things. You've seen patterns. You understand how the world works in ways that young people can't possibly understand yet. You have wisdom that only comes from decades of experience. You have freedom. You're not trying to impress anyone anymore. You don't care what people think the way you did when you were younger. You're not worried about fitting in, or following the rules, or doing what's expected. You can do what you actually want to do, what you actually believe in, what actually matters to you. You have clarity. You've had time to figure out what's important and what isn't. What's worth your time and what isn't. What you care about and what you don't. Young people are still figuring that out, still trying everything, still uncertain. You know, that's powerful. You have time, not infinite time, but time. If you're 65 and you live to 85, that's 20 years. 20 years is a long time. That's long enough to write a book, start a business, learn a new skill, build something meaningful, make a real impact, change lives, leave a legacy. 20 years is not nothing. It's an enormous opportunity if you choose to use it. But here's what I see. Here's what breaks my heart. I see people your age who've given up, who've decided they're done, who spend their days in front of the TV, going through the motions, killing time until time kills them. And they're miserable, they're bored, they're unfulfilled, they feel useless. They feel like they don't matter anymore, like they're just taking up space. And I want to grab them by the shoulders and shake them and say, what are you doing? You have wisdom, you have experience, you have skills, you have time, you have so much to offer. Why are you wasting it? Why are you acting like your life is over when you could still do the most important things you've ever done? I think about my own father. He's in his 70s. And for years he acted like he was done, like his productive years were behind him. Like all he could do was look back at what he'd accomplished and wait to die. And it killed me to watch, because I knew he was capable of so much more. I knew he had so much still to contribute. But he'd accepted the story, he'd bought into the lie that his time was over. And then something changed. He started a new project, something he'd always wanted to do but never had time for when he was working. And I watched him come alive again. Suddenly he had energy, purpose, excitement. He wasn't waiting to die anymore, he was living, really living. And I thought, this is what people should be doing at this age, not fading away, not giving up, but finally having the freedom and the time to do the things they've always wanted to do. That's what I want for you. That's why I'm making this announcement, because I need you to understand that your story isn't over. The best chapter might still be ahead of you. The most important thing you'll ever do might still be waiting for you, but only if you reject the lie. Only if you stop accepting that you're done. Only if you decide that age is not going to determine what you're capable of. So let me ask you directly. What have you always wanted to do but never did? What dream did you put aside because life got in the way? What would you attempt if you weren't afraid of being too old? What would you start if you believed you still had time? Write that book you've been thinking about, the one with the stories from your life, the lessons you've learned, the things you wish you could tell younger people. Write it. You have the stories. You have the wisdom. You have the perspective. Write the book. Start that business you've been dreaming about, that thing you've always wanted to try. That idea you've had for years but never pursued because you were too busy with your career, with raising your family, with all the obligations. You're not too busy anymore. You have time now. Start the business. Learn that skill you've always wanted to learn. That instrument, that language, that craft. You have time now. You can dedicate hours every day to learning something new. Something that matters to you. Something that brings you joy. Learn it. Travel to those places you've always wanted to see. Don't wait until you're too old or too sick to enjoy it. Go now. While you can still walk, still explore, still experience new things. See the world. You've earned it. Reconnect with that passion you had when you were younger. That thing you loved to do before life got serious and responsibilities took over. Maybe you used to paint, or play music, or build things, or write poetry. Whatever it was, do it again. Not because you're trying to be good at it, not because you're trying to make money from it, but because it brings you alive, because it reminds you that you're still here, still capable of creating, still capable of feeling joy. Make a difference in someone's life. Mentor someone younger. Share your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom. There are young people who desperately need what you have to offer. Who need guidance? Who need perspective? Who need to hear from someone who's been where they are? Be that person for them. Repair that relationship that's been broken for years. Reach out to that family member you haven't talked to, that old friend you lost touch with. You don't have forever. Neither do they. Stop letting pride or hurt or stubbornness keep you apart. Life's too short. Make amends, reconnect, love while you still can. Whatever it is, do it now. Not someday, not when you feel ready, not when the timing is perfect. Now. Because the timing is never perfect, and someday might not come. And you are ready. You're more ready now than you've ever been. Because you have something you didn't have when you were younger, the wisdom to know what actually matters. Let me tell you what I see when I look at people your age who are still engaged with life, who are still trying new things, who are still growing and learning and contributing. I see people who are truly alive, who have energy and purpose and joy, who inspire everyone around them, who prove that age is just a number and that life doesn't end at retirement. It transforms, it becomes something different, something that can be even better. Because you're finally free. Free from having to prove yourself. Free from worrying about what people think. Free from the pressure to conform. Free from all the things that held you back when you were younger. You can finally do what you actually want to do, what you actually believe in, what actually matters to you. That's not the end. That's liberation. But here's the thing. This doesn't happen automatically. You don't just wake up one day and suddenly feel alive and purposeful and engaged. You have to choose it. You have to decide that you're not done, that you still have things to do, that your time isn't over. You have to reject the story society tells about aging, and you have to write your own story instead. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's not easy. It's easier to just accept the decline, to settle into routine, to stop trying, to give up. That's the path of least resistance. But it's also the path to being miserable, to feeling useless, to wasting whatever time you have left. The other path, the path of still engaging with life, of still trying new things, of still pushing yourself, that's harder. It requires effort. It requires courage. It requires being willing to fail, being willing to look foolish, being willing to be a beginner again. And that's uncomfortable, especially at your age. Especially when society expects you to be past all that. But you know what? The discomfort is worth it. The effort is worth it. Because the alternative is spending your remaining years just existing, just going through the motions, just waiting. And that's no way to live. That's no way to spend the time you have left. I think about my own mortality. I'm 53. I'm not young anymore. And I think about how much time I might have left. Maybe 30 years, if I'm lucky. Maybe 40. Maybe less. I don't know. Nobody knows. But however much time I have, I'm not going to waste it. I'm not going to spend it just being comfortable, just maintaining, just existing. I'm going to use it every day to build things, to try things, to push boundaries, to make a difference, to live fully until I can't anymore. And if I'm thinking that way at 53, you should be thinking that way at 65 or 70 or 80, because you don't know how much time you have either. Maybe 10 years, maybe 20, maybe more. But however much time it is, it's precious. It's irreplaceable. And you can't get it back once it's gone. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to waste it? Are you going to spend it in front of the TV, in your comfort zone, doing nothing that matters? Or are you going to use it? Are you going to spend it doing things that excite you, that challenge you, that make you feel alive? That's my announcement. That's what I needed to tell you. Your time is not over. Your best years might still be ahead of you. You are not done. You are not too old. You still have so much to offer, so much to do, so much to experience, but you have to choose it. You have to decide that you're going to reject the story about aging and write your own story instead. And I need you to start now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more ready. Now. Today. Choose one thing. One thing you've been putting off. One thing you've been too afraid to try. One thing you've been telling yourself you're too old for. And do it. Start it. Take the first step. Prove to yourself that you're not done. That you still can. That your time isn't over. Because here's what I know. Here's what I've seen from people who make this choice. They don't regret it. Ever. They might fail. They might struggle. They might face challenges. But they never regret trying. They never regret choosing to live fully instead of just existing. They never regret proving that they're still capable, still relevant, still here. And years from now, when you're at the end, when you're looking back on your life, you want to be someone who tried, who showed up, who refused to give up, who proved that age doesn't determine capability. You don't want to be someone who gave up, who faded away, who wasted their final years being comfortable and bored and unfulfilled. Your time is not over. This is not the end. This is a new chapter, maybe the best chapter. The chapter where you finally have the wisdom to know what matters, the freedom to pursue it, the courage to try. Don't waste this chapter. Don't throw away this opportunity. Don't accept the lie that you're done. You're not done. You're just getting started on the part of life that can be the most meaningful, the most fulfilling, the most true to who you really are, but only if you choose it. Only if you reject the story. Only if you decide that your announcement, your declaration, is this: I'm not done. My time is not over. My best years are ahead of me. And I'm going to prove it. That's my announcement for you. Now what's yours? What are you going to announce to the world? What are you going to prove? What are you going to do with the time you have left? Because it's not over. Not even close. Your time is now. Use it. And let me tell you something that nobody talks about. Something that might surprise you. You know who I learned the most from? People your age. Not people my age. Not younger people. People in their 60s, 70s, 80s who are still engaged with life, who are still curious, who are still trying things. Those are the people who teach me the most valuable lessons. Because you've seen things I haven't seen. You've lived through changes I've only read about. You remember a world without internet, without smartphones, without all the technology we take for granted now. You've adapted to more change than any generation in human history. And you're still here, still standing, still capable of adapting to whatever comes next. That's not weakness. That's incredible strength. That's resilience.